Okay, so today's section is called Solving Quadratic Equations by Taking Square Roots. So we're going back to solving equations, everything that we've done since the beginning of the year. The only thing that we're going to do is add a step at the very end to get rid of this exponent, and we're going to undo that by taking the square root. But first, what we have to do is get the x squared by itself. Right now there's a plus 5 on the same side of the equal sign as the x squared, so we're going to do the opposite and subtract 5 from both sides. So that goes to 0, and I just have x squared equals 5 minus 5, again, is 0. Now to get rid of this squared, because I want my answer to be x equals, not x squared equals, the opposite of a square is a square root. So we take the square root of both sides, and we just get x equals 0, because 0 times 0 is 0. Now the next one, we've got a little bit more to do. 4x squared minus 25 equals 0. Still working on getting this x squared by itself. First, we're going to undo this subtraction, so we're going to add 25 to both sides. And I'm left with 4x squared equals positive 25. And then I'm going to move this 4. Right now it's being multiplied to the x squared, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And that leaves me x squared equals. Now, since I know that I'm taking the square root, and both of these have square roots, I'm going to leave them in this fraction. So I'm going to leave this 25 over 4. Plus, we don't have calculators right now. Figuring that out as a decimal would be a headache. So we're just going to leave it like that. To get rid of that squared again, we're going to take the square root. This is the same thing as taking the square root of 25 and the square root of 4 separately. That's the same thing. So I get x equals, now here's a new part that didn't apply to the 0, because remember the 0 is Switzerland, it's neutral, it's not positive, it's not negative. Here, though, we're going to have to add this little symbol. It's a plus sign and a minus sign. And what this means is positive or negative. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 4 is 2. So that's your answer there. Technically, we have 2 answers to each of these, because we know that positive 5 times positive 5 will be 25, or negative 5 times negative 5 will be 25. So the square root of this 25 can be the positive 5, it also can be the negative 5, which we just take care of with this positive or negative sign that we put in front of the square root. The last one, we've got x plus 2 squared equals 9. Now, since everything in this parentheses is being squared, that's what we're going to undo first. We're going to go ahead and take the square root of this side and the square root of this side. The square root of x plus 2 squared is just x plus 2. Square root of 9 is positive or negative 3. So to solve this, I'm going to have to break this apart and solve it if the answer is positive 3, and solve it if the answer was negative 3. So I've got x plus 2 equals 3, and x plus 2 equals negative 3. Now solving for this x, I subtract 2, x equals 1, or, same thing over here, subtract 2, x equals negative 5. So unless you're taking the square root of 0, which you'll only have one answer, you're going to have 2 answers. Sometimes it'll look like this positive and negative here. Sometimes you'll have to split the square root up into the positive case and the negative case, and then solve for x.